On a cold January morning in 1995, tragedy struck the quiet town of Springfield, Missouri. A young mother and her two young children were found brutally murdered in their home, a crime so shocking it sent waves of fear throughout the community. With no clear motive and unanswered questions still lingering nearly 3 decades later, this murder remains one of Missouri's most disturbing unsolved cases. This is the story of the Feeney family murders. Hello friends, my name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders. In 1995, Springfield, Missouri was a growing mid-sized city with a small-town feel, known for its strong sense of community, family-friendly atmosphere, and relatively low crime rate. With a population of around 140,000, it was home to Missouri State University, a thriving healthcare industry, and a mix of urban and rural influences. The city had already been shaken by the still unsolved Springfield 3 case in 1992, in which 3 women, Cheryl Levitt, Susie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, vanished without a trace. I've covered their case in a previous video that I will link below. The brutal murders of Cheryl Feeney and her 2 young children further rattled the community, reinforcing the fear that violent crime could strike anywhere, even in seemingly safe neighborhoods. Nationally, the mid-1990s saw a decline in violent crime from the peaks of the late 80s and early 90s, but Springfield itself was not completely immune to acts of violence. However, a crime as gruesome as the Feeney family murders was rare, making it all the more shocking. The case dominated local headlines, and many in the community were eager for answers and justice. Against this backdrop, the Feeney murders became not just a tragic story, but a case that would haunt Springfield for years to come. John Feeney, age 35, had been a science teacher at Glendale High School for about 10 years and taught evening classes at Drury College. By all accounts, he was loved by his students and admired by his colleagues. In his spare time, he coached his son's soccer team and played volleyball. His wife, Cheryl Feeney, also 35, was a graduate of Camdenton High School and had been a nurse at Cox South Medical Center for 9 years. They had 2 children, 6-year-old son Tyler, a kindergartner at Wanda Gray Elementary, and 18-month-old Jennifer. The family lived at 1993 West Nottingham Street in the new upscale subdivision of Southland Village, just outside the southwest city limits. On Saturday, February 25, 1995, Cheryl went clothes shopping at Dillard's department store, leaving John and the children at home. She returned late morning and the family ate lunch together. The day was sunny and unseasonably warm, with afternoon temperatures reaching 71 degrees. After doing some yard work and pool maintenance, John left home mid-afternoon to attend a 3-day educational conference in Lake of the Ozarks at Tantera Resort that was to begin on Sunday. He was scheduled to give a presentation to his fellow science teachers on Monday. After Cheryl, a surgical team leader, failed to show up at work on Monday for her 6:30 a.m. shift, co-workers began trying to locate her. After repeated calls to Cheryl went unanswered, someone from Cox South called John's mother, Ola Jean Feeney. Teresa Bollinger, a nurse and co-worker of Cheryl's, met John's mother at the Feeney residence at about 10 a.m. Getting no answer after ringing the doorbell, Teresa tried the front door and found it unlocked. She stepped inside and called out to Cheryl. Not getting a response and seeing the house in disarray, she called 911. George Perigo, a Greene County road deputy, responded to the call, finding Cheryl's body face down on the blood-covered bed with a knife beside her. Tyler was found in his bed with a pillow over his face, and baby Jennifer was found in her crib. They were all deceased. Greene County medical examiner Erwin Busick believed all 3 were killed in their sleep. They had their pajamas on, all were in bed, and there were no signs of struggle. Officers with the South Central Missouri Major Case Squad were called in to handle the investigation, along with the Greene County Sheriff's Department. Every room had been ransacked, and the back door, the apparent mode of entry, was splintered. As crime scene investigators processed the scene, 2 gray hairs were found in the paint on a paintbrush and a piece of cardboard in the garage that had been used to vandalize the house. A single hair was found on Cheryl, and unidentified fingerprints were found on the unscrewed light of the garage door motor. Several unidentified footprints were also found. Autopsies were conducted by Dr. James Spindler. Cheryl suffered 10 blows to her head with a rod-shaped object, and 2 superficial puncture wounds were found on her left cheek. She had 4 defensive bruises on her arms. 6-year-old Tyler was struck 6 times with the same rod-shaped object, with 3 blows hitting his head. 18-month-old Jennifer was strangled by 2 pieces of nylon rope. During the autopsy, it was also discovered that Tyler had hepatitis B. The time of death was determined to be late Saturday or early Sunday, although the beige latex paint used to vandalize the home appeared to have been spilled late Sunday, several hours after the murders, indicating that the killer or killers had stayed in the house for some time. Police began looking for witnesses. Neighbors reported they did not see or hear anything unusual over the weekend. All considered the Feeneys a sweet, quiet couple. John was often seen on the porch or in front of the garage smoking, and Cheryl often played with the children on their back deck. Neighbor Trudy Deeds did tell police she saw the Feeneys' garage door raised slightly on Sunday afternoon. The door was closed when police found the bodies. Police began receiving tips from the public and made a plea for an unidentified female caller who had provided an anonymous tip about a conversation between Cheryl and another individual to contact them again. The caller had provided sensitive but valuable information during her initial call, but did not give enough information. The caller did contact police again, however, investigators would not describe the information or how it was connected to the murders. Neighbors were stunned and started a neighborhood watch, added alarm systems, and kept a closer eye on the children. Crisis counseling teams arrived at Glendale High School and Wanda Gray Elementary, where Tyler went to school, to assist faculty, students, and staff. Vigils were organized by Cox South nurses and hospital co-workers. They wore pink and blue bows in support of the family. As would be expected, investigators took a hard look at John, searching his hotel room and impounding the 1989 Ford Mustang he drove to the conference. His co-workers and students were questioned. Police were able to develop a timeline of John's activities after he left home on Saturday. They confirm he did arrive at Tantera Resort Saturday afternoon and had dinner with a colleague. Police footage of a traffic stop at 8:33 p.m. in Osage Beach captured John as he left the dinner getting pulled over for speeding. He was given a ticket and his driver's license was taken. At 9:15 p.m. he had a 5-minute phone call with Cheryl. At 10:30 p.m., John arrived at the Osage Beach Police Department to pay his ticket and retrieve his license. On Sunday, John played 4 holes of golf with friends at Tantera before it started to rain. Not dressed for the weather, he stayed in the clubhouse while his companions finished the game. Several other friends and colleagues also saw John throughout the day. For additional perspective on the timeline, it's nearly 100 miles from the Feeney home to Tantera. Having driven that same route that John took many times myself, it's about an hour-and-a-half drive today with no traffic and driving slightly above the speed limit. In 1995, I believe it might have taken longer, as Highway 5 at the time was a 2-lane winding road with no passing lanes like it has today. There was no direct physical evidence linking him to the murders, and no witnesses that put John in Springfield on Saturday night or Sunday. The state's case, by its own admission, was purely circumstantial and weak in areas. Despite the lack of physical evidence tying him to the crime, John was indicted on 3 counts of murder. Prosecutors built their case around 2 key claims. First, they argued that John's past affairs with 4 fellow teachers, though they had ended years before, suggested he wanted to escape the responsibilities of marriage and fatherhood. Second, they pointed to the fact that Tyler had hepatitis B, implying it was evidence of abuse. During the trial, the women involved in John's past affairs testified that their relationships had long since ended and that John had never expressed a desire to leave his wife and children. Additionally, experts from the Greene County Health Department, the Missouri Department of Health, and the CDC in Atlanta testified that the cause of hepatitis B in children is often unknown, and Tyler had never been vaccinated against it. Crucially, John tested negative for the disease, further undermining the prosecution's theory. After a 9-day trial, John was found not guilty by a Springfield jury. After John's acquittal, Cheryl's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him. It was subsequently dropped shortly after the filing. In 2000, a memorial bench with the inscription, "Etched in Our Hearts Forever," was placed in Springfield's Phelps Grove Park in memory of Cheryl, Tyler, and baby Jennifer. From the beginning, police focused their investigation on John Feeney. There is little evidence to suggest they seriously pursued other potential suspects. Many of Cheryl's family, friends, and former co-workers remain convinced that John was responsible for the murders. However, many others believe the real killer, or killers, may still be out there. No clear motive was ever identified for this horrific crime, which only adds to its unsettling nature. What could drive someone to murder a mother and her 2 young children in cold blood? By all accounts, the Feeneys were an ordinary family, living a quiet life with no known enemies. Their story is a chilling reminder of life's fragility. If it could happen to them, it could happen to anyone. If you have any thoughts, theories, or comments about this case, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.